The Holy Gospel according to St. Matthew, the 27th and 28th chapters.
Glory to you, O Lord.
The next day, that is, after the day of preparation, the chief priests and the Pharisees gathered before Pilate and said, "Sir, we remember what the impostor said when he was still alive. After 3 days he will rise again. Therefore, command the tomb to be made secure until the 3rd day. Otherwise, his disciples may go and steal him away and tell the people he has been raised from the dead. And the last deception would be worse than the first." Pilate said to them, "You have a guard of soldiers. Go make it as secure as you can." So they went with the guard and made the tomb secure by sealing the stone. After the Sabbath, on the first day of the week, as it was dawning, Mary Magdalene and the other Mary went to the tomb. And suddenly there was a great earthquake, for the angel of the Lord had descended from heaven, came and rolled back the stone and sat on it. His appearance was like lightning, and his clothing white as snow. For fear of him, the guards shook and became like dead men. But the angel said to the woman, "Do not be afraid. I know you are looking for Jesus who was crucified. He is not here, for he has been raised, as he said. Come, see the place where he lay. Then go and tell the disciples he has been raised from the dead, and indeed he is going ahead of you to Galilee. There you will see him. This is my message for you." So they left the tomb quickly, with fear and great joy, and ran to tell his disciples. Suddenly, Jesus met them and said, "Greetings." And they came to him, took hold of his feet, and worshipped him. Then Jesus said to them, "Do not be afraid. Go and tell my brothers to go to Galilee. There they will see me." The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, O Christ.
Today, you and I are about to set a personal record and prove a couple of points. Easter has not fallen on April 24th since 1859, 1 year before Abraham Lincoln became president. It will not be this late again until 27 years from now, in 2038, when it will fall on April 25th. That means that if some of us take very good care of ourselves, we just might be able to best the record we are setting today. Anyway, congratulations, one and all. We are also proving a couple of points. The first is that in Chicago, with our changeable weather, it's harder to believe that Easter is about bunnies, girls in pretty dresses and boys in new suits, and especially springtime, than it is to believe that Easter is about what it's about. Maybe if we lived in Palm Springs, we could be lulled into that sense of self-security. But here, on many Easters, the bunnies can see their breath, the Easter outfits are covered in winter coats, And springtime lasts all of 12 seconds and comes in late May or early June, after which it is immediately blistering hot. But the important point, the point that sustains us, the point that keeps us going is this: that no matter if Easter comes on March 22nd, the earliest, or April 25th, the latest, Easter never comes too late. That's what it looked like for the women who walked to the tomb in the early morning mist of the first day of their week. It was too late. Their friend Jesus, who had brought so much hope to their lives, was dead, and their worst fears had been realized. Their hearts had been moved as they followed him around, watching him healing the sick, touching the untouchables, and welcoming everybody, and saying things about God that made God personal and accessible. They had watched as he made his way into Jerusalem for what would be his final Passover, and the crowd waved those palm branches, hailing him as king. And they watched in horror as things began to go terribly wrong. They watched him get arrested on some trumped-up charges. They watched him get sentenced to death. And they were there at the foot of the cross when he died. They helped Joseph of Arimathea take his body down and seal it in a stone-cold tomb. They were there for all of it. And they went back then to join their friends, wondering what would become of them all now that Jesus was dead. Certainly, it was too late for God to do anything. But one group wasn't so sure. And it wasn't a group of faithful followers or even the loyal opposition. It's funny how our opponents remember the things our friends forget. And so it is that in the early morning hours on the day after Jesus' death, this group shows up again at Pilate's door. He could not have been happy to see them. They had already talked him into doing something he did not want to do, namely, execute a man he wasn't sure was guilty of anything. He tried to wash his hands of the whole matter and be done with it, but now the same group that had kept him up all night was back. I can only imagine, but would never say from the pulpit, what Pilate said when he was told that the good old boys were back to ask for one more favor. He had already killed Jesus, made him as dead as only Rome could make someone. What in the world could they want now? They are there because they remember something Jesus said, and his friends had forgotten.